Roxanne, welcome to the Unleashing Brilliance podcast. So fabulous to have you joining me in a conversation all about earning power, charging our worth, all of the imposter syndrome that kicks in on that. It's wonderful to have you. Thanks for coming along today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we were talking off air about why I'm so glad that somebody has written this book around earning potential. I shared that in the work that I do with my clients, I reckon probably every single week there's conversations about how much money should I charge. People are trying to discount me. Should I go for it? I can't possibly charge that much. This is why this book is so important, because we've just got to get past all of those barriers when it comes to our worth, our earning potential, and charging our worth. But before we dive into it, I'd love to hear straight up, why did you write this book? What was it that drove you to write this book?
I love writing for a start, so it's my second book, but in particular this topic is based on the gender pay gap. So my work is recruitment. I have a recruitment business. It's called S10. I've worked my whole life in recruitment, and the majority of people that I've worked with have been women. I've placed thousands of women in jobs. And throughout that time, specifically probably the last maybe 10 years, I had noted the decisions that females were making that was costing them a whole lot of money throughout their lifetime. So, for example, we would have a job offer that would come through, and whoever it was would come back and say, "Rox, it's just not the right time," or "I don't think I've got the right skills," or "I spoke to my husband and we think that I should be doing this instead," or whatever it might be. And these aren't decisions that females were making or women were making, once a month or every quarter or once a year. This is a daily event. And so I started to, my mind added up, and like I'm quite good at maths. I was like, hold on a sec, that's $5,000. It's not costing you $5,000. It's actually costing you this amount. And by the time you come to retirement, I'm pretty sure that's $1 million. So I'd worked this all out. And so when the gender pay gap started to come through loud and clear last year, even though it had been talked about forever, I remember thinking, but I've known about this forever. Why are we making such a big deal about it now? Like, why is everyone blowing the trumpet when it's been around forever? And that's why I wrote the book. So the gender pay gap, in its strictest form, talks about structural and systemic barriers that stop women from earning more. I take that and carry it through the book to say we carry those with us, and that's what impacts our decisions. And my belief is probably similar to your audience, for business owners or managers in that sort of field, that you are in sort of control of your own destiny. I don't like people to tell me what I can and can't, or what I should or shouldn't do. I was one of those little bit rebellious females. And for this structural change to come through, it's going to be centuries. So we won't be around to benefit from it, and neither will our children. So the book is very much about efficacy in terms of bringing change about for yourself.
And hence why I'm so glad you've written the book. It's exactly, I wrote a piece on LinkedIn around International Women's Day, around talking about actually how I hate International Women's Day, how I'm over it. And it is because of that. We're having the same conversations over and over and over again, and nothing fundamentally is changing.
But the thing is, Janine, I think sometimes when we challenge that rhetoric, sometimes we get shot down for that, because people want to just get on the same train with that. But if nothing changes from it, then I'm with you on that. We should be challenging and saying, what's happening about it?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, before we dive into your book, I've got early 20s age children, and I was having a conversation with my son about the career choices that he's making and where he's starting his career. And his girlfriend, long-term girlfriend, is going into the same industry. He was questioning this concept of inequality as a 21-year-old. And I said to him, out of interest, maybe ask your girlfriend what she thinks her opening salary should be. What sort of pay level? And even in that instance, the discrepancy showed itself. This is my point, son. It's really important that you actually become aware of this, and it's equally important. So I have my daughter's friends or friends of friends come and help me, and they'll go, "I'll do it for free." I go, "No, you won't. You have to charge." But it's that constant challenging and thinking about it. So let's just talk about some of these money blocks that you referenced. You talk in your book about your $1 million framework, which I think is absolute genius, because what it does is it gives women this tangible visual roadmap to wealth. But you also talk about these mindset traps that get in the way. I'm curious, what's one silent money block that you see constantly showing up for women? And how do we start to dismantle that?
If I said to you, Janine, or any of your friends, or, if you had daughters, you're impacted by the discrepancy, this $1 million gender pay discrepancy, it's likely, even if you nodded, it's likely deep down that you're thinking, not so much, because I've been in charge of my own future. I'm educated. I'm whatever it might be. And therein lies part of the problem. Most females think that they're not affected by this, but I can pretty much guarantee nearly every single female has been impacted by it. And it's because we carry the level of bias or social conditioning all the way through. So from when we're a child of that's what you should do or shouldn't do, that's what you should wear or shouldn't wear, all the way through to the workforce, and that builds and compacts. So when we have, we carry that piece of baggage, then we carry that piece of baggage. And then when we get to the workforce, it's any wonder that we're making decisions that are holding us back. It's because of all of the layers that we've been carrying in time. The example that you gave with your son and his girlfriend, all of the stats and figures back that up. Graduates, females and males, female graduates start on a lower salary than males, no matter the degree. If they're in the same degree, it's the same thing. The same degree, females will start on a lower starting salary than males. When you talked about the blocks, for example, we need to just back ourselves more. And that's an easy statement to make, isn't it? Like, just back yourself more. And so it goes back to having the confidence to be brave in your decisions, question the mindset. So when you are saying no to an opportunity, what's the real reason you're saying no? Is it because you're too scared to say yes? So for, your clients that are saying to you, "Oh, I don't think I should charge that. Should I charge that? I've been asked to give an $8,000 discount. I don't feel comfortable. What do I do about that?" The reason you're questioning it isn't it because on worth, it's because you're too scared to push back. And if that's the reason, then get comfortable with recognizing that and then start to push back on that and work out how and practice how to have that conversation that says to your client, "I'm really sorry. Thank you for bringing that up. And I'm really grateful that you think or would like to ask me to take that discount, but I actually can't. And here's the reasons why."
Do you actually actively see that in your organization with the female candidates versus the male candidates? How does it present itself?
In so many different ways. It could be that they're presented with an opportunity, a promotion, advancement that's unexpected. And instead of being like, "That's amazing. Wow, someone believes in me," it's "Oh, I don't think I'm ready to do that. I actually need another couple of years. I don't have all of those skills." And yet, if it was a male in the same situation, guaranteed they will grab that opportunity and run with it. And so they should. And good on them for doing that. We need to do more of that. Or it might be they get an opportunity and I see this every day. I get an opportunity, they come back, and it might be, "I need to talk to my husband about it." Okay, fair enough, because it's a family. But then the answer comes back, "My husband thinks that I shouldn't." So what I always think is, okay, if that was a joint decision, own it. I think that I shouldn't do it, instead of it being my husband. And I know this might sound controversial to say this, but it is actually true. This is what happens, and it's reality. And it happens with 30-year-olds. I'm not talking about people who are in their 60s or might have grown up in a different era where it was a different lifestyle choice. This is happening for women in their 20s and 30s.
Oh, and even, just to put it into the context of my own business, where I'm essentially helping female business owners scale and grow their businesses. And I get the calls through, and it's very clear as to whether this program that I run's a fit or not upfront. And you then get to how much, and it becomes, "Oh, let me just go talk to my husband about it." some come back and they say no, even though it's pretty clear that their business will not grow, will not change, will not scale if they don't do anything. So my point there is, in terms of your own personal development and your own growth and your own success, take ownership of it. Why do you think we put blame? It's because to me, it's almost like allocating the excuse. It's not taking the ownership onto either your husband, your partner, or whatever it is. Why do we do that?
Again, I think it's conditioning. It's an escape as well, because then we don't take responsibility. We'll put it this way: if you have the conversation, whether husband, partner, friend, doesn't matter, and that person convinces you in some way or influences you in some way to make a call that doesn't entirely sit with you, because really you would have loved that opportunity. And so when you come back and you deliver the message that you're not doing it, it's easier to say, oh, I spoke to my parents. And I've even had that. I've spoken to my parents about it and they think that I should stay in Australia. Or my husband thinks it's not the right time now because we've got our kids at school and I'm the one that's responsible for making sure I'm home in the afternoons, whatever it might be. And that's fair enough. Like, you know, that's okay if that's a decision, if it's your decision as well. And that's very different. So that's different to Rox. I thought about it. I've discussed it with the family and what we've got going on at the moment. I need to be home and I want to be home to take care of that responsibility at the moment. I'd really love to explore this maybe next year or the year after. Now, the other problem with that is the assumption that that opportunity is going to be there the next year or the year after, because it's not. And the message that you then send to the person that was offering you that opportunity isn't that you're grateful, or isn't that, oh, I might take it up next year. What you're really saying is, I'm not backing myself. You probably need to go and choose somebody else. That's the subliminal message. And I think people need to be aware of how we communicate with all of those things. The message isn't, I can't take it right now. The message is deeper than that. And that's the message that goes back to other people. In the same way, when we are conditioned or reject certain things, the message is, I don't believe I'm worth that.
And I think I can't remember which part of your book I read it in, but you talk about, in my world, pricing yourself is just a number. And that number is that reflection of how we see ourselves. Can you just go a little bit deeper on that?
Yeah. So the gender pay gap isn't just about money. It's about what money symbolizes. And money symbolizes our self-worth and everything that is attached to that. So it's not about the $5,000, the $2,000, the 2.4% growth, the 5% growth. It's actually the attachment to that, what it symbolizes. The other thing that goes with that is that women are just not as comfortable discussing and talking about money openly. And if you can talk about money openly, then it just becomes a much more natural way of discussing things. A really good example. The other day, we were looking at a car and I was the one that was doing the negotiation with it. And the person I was dealing with, I just was really straight. And I said, it needs to be at this price. Finance has to be at this level, or we won't be doing it. I said, it's not personal. It's just that that's the deal. And he was the finance guy on the other side. He said, oh, thanks. I really appreciate you being straight with that. This is what I can do. I think we have to get very comfortable talking about money and not being squirmy about it.
Yeah. In my world, we do a lot of the same. And, I'm very commercial. Off straight up, I'm going, talk to me about where your business is at. I want to look at the numbers. Where are you wanting to go to? And every quarter, we're talking numbers. And I know initially some people find it really uncomfortable. I love that. I love that comment. I don't know if you hear this. Of, it's not about the money. It's not about the money. I'm going, no, it's always about the money, because the money facilitates whatever lifestyle you want, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it sort of isn't, and yet it is, whether it be lifestyle, wealth, giving back, whatever. I'm really curious, where did your confidence, money savviness, wealth savviness, ability to talk, like you said, clear with conviction, where do you think that came from?
Hard work, maybe. I started in recruitment in the days when you could make quite, decent money in recruitment. And I was young. I was a graduate. I did a Bachelor's of Arts degree, and all of my friends did economics, finance, business, medicine, law. So amongst my friends, I always felt like I was like, not the loser, but, like they were all doing medicine and law and everything. And it was during the recession. So it was hard to get a job, and they all landed jobs. And then I finally got a job and I fell into recruitment, and I was good at it and I got paid really well because it was bonus linked. And I remember feeling that I didn't deserve those bonuses and that money. And I remember always feeling embarrassed about it and also like a fraud, like, oh, what if people actually find out that I'm not that smart, I'm not that good, and this is just really lucky. And it was one of the reasons why I did further study was because I never wanted to be in a position where I couldn't justify it all. And funnily enough, then I just worked harder and harder and harder. And then it just got to a point where people would want a discount or something. And I just thought, no, I'm going to work till 10 o'clock at night for you. I'm going to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning for you. I will deliver because I will kill myself to deliver for you. And if you don't want to pay for that, that's okay. But I need to feel good about working with you. And I'm not going to feel good about it if you just ask me for a discount where it's belittling and it's not my worth anymore. So I don't know where it came from, but probably a bit of time, a bit of hard knocks, definitely hard work where now I feel I absolutely deserve. In fact, I often feel I deserve more before I charge. And I sometimes think, I need to charge more.
I have this little game going with a colleague of mine where the game is to see how much we can get. Because when I started out post corporate, I charge X amount, and I personally my business strategy is days down, dollars up. So I want to earn as much money as I can for as few days work as possible. So I strategically structure my business around that. So for me, every time I can up my prices, it's like brilliant bonus. I can get some time off. But equally, it's, there's so many real world examples for me, whether it be same client, same buyer who might be paying me X and they're paying somebody else Y. I go, there's no science in pricing, for example, or salary. I go, who sets this stuff? My argument to my clients, who's told you that you can only charge X? Because I haven't seen a book anywhere where I signed up to say, I can only charge $500 an hour. It's like, rubbish. Who said? How can Tony Robbins charge $1 million? Like,
the thing that I would say with that is it's not about just in my opinion, not just about charging more and not just about asking for more money, because I worry then that people will really fall badly if what you're asking for is not warranted. So like, as you know, when I said to you before, I'm going to work really hard for my clients. So I feel really comfortable in sticking to my rates and not discounting. And if people are going to ask for a pay increase, for example, or charge a certain price, I think it's got to be, you got to back it up, because otherwise people are going to be in a situation where the boss is going to say, well, no. And we're in a difficult climate at the moment too,
You've got to have the social proof to back it up, the worth to back it up, the case studies, absolutely. And that same son I was telling you about, we were having a round the table conversation where I'd suggested he talk to, he's doing an internship at the moment. And it's an internship that's unpaid. Unless he's lucky, he can stay at home. But I said to him, go and talk to the boss and have a conversation about her career. And the leader actually said, say yes, say yes as much as possible, do the work. You won't necessarily earn X like your mates because he's gone into a certain industry that isn't the big paid industry, but over time it will pick up like this. And that's what you're talking about, that balance between getting paid what you're worth, but equally having the backup and the evidence, which is key. This book, I'm holding it here for anyone that's watching this on YouTube. What's your wish? You've got in here so many mindset tools. You talk about confidence. The people that are listening to this right now who are going, yes, Roxanne, I know, yes, I'm with you. I've got all of that stuff holding me back. I'm getting so frustrated because people are jumping ahead of me or getting paid more than me for the same job. What sort of advice would you give them?
I mean, this is my advice just probably in general in terms of life, but I just question all assumptions. Like you said, who says you have to charge that? What rule said that? Which is, again, bizarre because I'm rule conscious, but I also really love to break certain rules. So I think just question all assumptions. So the next time in a daily basis as well, and especially anything around gender. You know, I give those stories in the book where daily, if you listen, you will hear all of those levels of bias being laid on young women all the time. So I just would question all of it, and don't let that be the legacy or be the label that you carry with you when you make a decision on something. And maybe, think if it was the male next door to me, how would they feel about that? I think they're going to think differently about it. Sometimes I do that. Sometimes I'm like, right, I'm about to have this difficult conversation. I wonder what the difference would be if I was a male. How would they tackle it? What words would they use? What body language would they use? And then sometimes that doesn't always work because you have to be congruent and you have to be genuine in your own style. But I sometimes do that just to, I always think you should challenge assumptions.
There's a table in your book where you talk about over a period of time not asking for the pay rise, and you've got the opposite. Can you try and articulate that? Because to me that was like, whoa. And I think that's where that $1 million gap comes in. It was like, oh wow, like the reality is there.
I think that's chapter 5. So I break the book down to explain all of that. But in this one chapter, I do sort of try and show people a really basic, easy formula. Again, going back to what we were saying before, that most people will be like, oh no, I'm not affected by that. But in actual fact, like I said, most women are. So for example, there's one that I talk about where if you are a woman who, and if we use the average salary that's taken from the Australian Bureau of Statistics of 98,000, if you use that salary and you do not receive one single pay increase for a 10-year period, and you might be thinking, oh, come on, that's an exaggeration. It is absolutely not an exaggeration. If you sit in a circle with 5 women, one of those women will not have had a pay increase for that period of time. So I'm talking about just minimum wage growth of 2.4%. That over a 10-year period is a difference of $139,000, which is a lot of money that can be paid off on a mortgage or whatever it might be, let alone what that does to your superannuation at the end, let alone the fact that your buying power is less. Let's even forget about the increase. You actually cannot buy the same milk and bread that you bought before because your dollar value is less 10 years later. So that's a reality. I also break it down in another way in that chapter when I show 3 different ladies who make 3 different decisions over their career and the difference in earnings for them. And again, it shows it really clearly. Small decisions that people make, just tiny decisions, they're not big ticket ones, make a difference by $1 million. And that's because it's the compound effect of earnings as well. It's not I'm not going to ask my boss for that $2,000 increase because it's only $2,000 after tax. It's not very much. Who could be bothered with that? I don't want to go through the pain of him saying no to me or her saying no to me. I'd rather just get on with it. So it's not about that. It's about the fact that $2,000 this year plus wage growth the following year and again and again and again turns out to be more than you think.
Over dinner one night with some friends, we actually broke down what our, not just the cost of living expenses from the perspective of looking after your family or your significant others or whoever it is, but just all the other stuff that you go, hey, I need to get my hair done, and the amount of doctor's appointments, particularly depending on what stage of life you're at, the medication, the this, that, the other. You go, oh my God, it's ridiculous the amount of extra expense that we potentially individually take on board. It reminds me, as you're talking about, a few years ago, I had a client and she was asking my advice about which she'd been approached to take a new job. And honestly, for probably about half an hour, it was like she was reading through the list of this is what I'm doing here, this is what I'd be doing there. And it was all essentially qualitative stuff that she'd be working on, right onto the hours and how far she'd have to travel and whether she'd have her own office and this, that, and then I went, hang on, can we just, like, you've been talking to me through your list of pluses and minuses. What's the financial difference? Oh, I haven't even thought about that because I think I need to put in this. It could come later, and as long as I prove myself, I'm like, I'm sorry, but I reckon your male colleagues wouldn't even be having the in-depth conversation unless they knew about the dollars, and that comes back to that ingrained bias or assumption.
Because of the industry I'm in, because I'm in that employment area, you have to pick the right place because the wrong place for the right dollars will set you back because if you're not in the right place, you're not going to thrive. But equally, the dollars must come into place. Like when you said before, I agree with you. It is all about the money, not from a greed perspective and not for any other reason except that money makes the world go round. If you want to donate to charity, fabulous, but you need money to do that. If you want to help your parents, your children, you need money to do that. All of those things. And we're too scared to admit that or say that. And especially in business, because we're conditioned also, not just females, but I think business in general, we're conditioned also not to be too profitable. And I'm sorry, but especially small businesses, we must be profitable. We employ you know, the largest sector, and we've got to do that. It's good for our employees to do that.
Mm. And I think part of that challenge in terms of the conditioning, it's almost like when you're employed, it's slightly easier to negotiate rates and proposals because you're hiding behind the brand. Suddenly, when it's yourself, for whatever reason, it becomes harder. And I hear that, but I've only been doing this for 6 months. I go, no, you haven't. You've been doing this for 3 decades.
That's it. That's it. You've got all that wisdom and experience and knowledge that brings it to this level. Totally. I know.
I
Yeah.
love it. It's such a great book. Before we wrap, I really want to talk a little bit about this chapter 7 and then finally chapter 8, because chapter 7 I love because you've added this perspective about the insight and advice for our beautiful men. Can you tell me a little bit more about why you wanted to include that perspective in the book?
Yeah, because the gender pay gap is complex and controversial because people don't understand it. If anyone first hears me talk about it, I'm sure that they think that I'm banging on about the structural elements, etc. Yeah, they're relevant, but no, I'm banging on about the internal elements that stop us from earning more. And so, equally, I don't want people to think that it's a male bash because it's just not. And the males that are in our life, I'm fortunate to have had great dad, brother, partner who've been really supportive. So maybe, when you said to me before, why do you have confidence? I don't know, maybe it comes from that. But equally, I was also conditioned to be a girl, like you got to wear that, you've got to do that. No, you can't speak up and all those things. But I put that in there because we're a team. We're humans together. And if you start to be divisive and be like, oh, males do that and females do that, it's not about that. It's really about coming together. And we need males to be supportive of us in the workforce and as our partners or as our friends or as our parents or whatever that might be. And in many, many different ways. In the workforce, it's not just about mentoring, it's about being sponsors for us. There's a big difference between what that is. And there are many men, many male CEOs, leaders out there who do a fabulous job. And I don't want the gender pay gap to be about saying that or inferring that that's not the case because, we're a team.
Yeah. Yeah. And that then leads on to that final piece where you talk about, again, speaking my language, the importance of a support squad. You talk about these support networks and getting advice from people to help navigate this journey. Can you, from your perspective, why is it so important to surround yourself with the right people that are going to help you navigate this?
Because if you don't, you've got false structures. If you go to your mum is going to be protective. Unless, you're probably the only mum maybe that is going to be like, listen, I can give it to you straight. But most mums are going to be like, my poor son, my poor daughter, that they're going to see it from a different perspective. So your mum isn't always the best person to go to. Neither is your partner and neither is your best friend. Maybe differently depending on the relationships you've got. I feel like I'm fortunate enough if I go to my partner and tell him about a scenario, he's always able to go, actually, I think you've got that wrong. Or no, I think you're wrong in that situation, Rox, and whatever. So you have to also be open to getting that feedback to change. So I think it's important to have those people around you who will not say what you want them to say and not agree with you and be comfortable in hearing that so that you can make the right decision for yourself.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Roxanne, what's your final words? What's your wish for this book? If it could touch one person, if it could change somebody's life that's listening to this, if you could give them one thing, what is your wish for this book in terms of its impact?
To know that women have enormous potential and that we should harness that.
Yeah, love that. Roxanne, has been an absolute pleasure to chat. I have a feeling that we could sit down over a few bowls of wine and a nice dinner, and between the two of us, definitely work on how to get research for this. And for those of you that are listening, if you weren't ready to claim your earning power before, I so hope that you are now after this incredible conversation, because as Roxanne shares in her book, Earning Power, it's about the mindset. It's about actually the reality check of this $1 million formula. And actually, as we've talked about, I think, Roxanne, I want to just thank you for giving every single one of us the nudge that we need to stop playing small, because like you, I believe we're not here to shrink. We're not here to barter our brilliance in exchange for breadcrumbs. Every single one of you listening here, you've made choices and you are here to build your version of wealth, whatever that is. And it's about claiming your space, and it's about getting paid your worth, your right, according to wherever you're at in your business or in your career right now. So if this episode has lit up that fire for you, please don't let it fade. Please share it. Please post it. Please check out the fabulous Roxanne Calder. You can check the show notes. Her contact details are in there. And definitely grab yourself a copy of Earning Power. It will certainly make you stop and go, really? And open those eyes wide and give you the reality check of potentially some decisions, if not many, that you have made for yourself that have given you actually taking you a step back from where you can be. Roxanne, thank you again so much. And thanks for writing this book.
Thanks so much, Janine.